When I talk about soil fertility recommendations, I'll often mention that nitrogen and phosphorus is a plant essential nutrient, but I haven't really gotten into what makes a nutrient plant essential. So for a nutrient to be considered plant essential, it has to meet 3 criteria. First is that the plant cannot and will not complete its life cycle if that nutrient is absent. And completing a life cycle is basically going through reproduction, whether that's setting seed, rhizome, or making it through winter if it's a perennial. So 1, it has to be able to complete its life cycle. 2, it cannot be replaced. So this means that, let's say a nutrient is deficient or there's no phosphorus in the soil, you can't add potassium and make it better. So if the replacement, or if there's something else that can replace that nutrient, it shouldn't be considered plant essential. Now, the third and final is that that nutrient needs to be involved in plant processes. So we know that nitrogen is used in chlorophyll and amino acids, and that potassium is used in the stomata, and that phosphorus is basically ATP and ADP, using that energy source. It needs to be involved, so the nutrient needs to be involved. And it has to meet all 3 criteria. It can't just meet 2 or 3. Now, when we start talking about plant essential nutrients, as far as scientists goes and educators, it can get really challenging. If you go out on the internet and Google it, plant essential nutrients, you're going to come up with a list of 15 to 18 plant essential nutrients. And that is a little bit because these 3 criteria may be measured differently. Also, there may be a nutrient that is essential for, let's say, saltwater grasses that is not needed by anything else. So one of the criteria I add is that it's all plants, when I go into the teaching, that it's all plants need it. So life cycle, replace, involved in process, and all plants. Now that brings me to what I teach in class, 16 plant essential nutrients. Now those 16 plant essential nutrients are broken up into 4 primary categories. The first one that's not talked about a lot is our HCO. Hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. Our next 3 that we call macros are N, P, and K, or nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These are the macros. We get into our secondaries. Our secondaries are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. Our third category is micronutrients. In those micronutrients, we have iron, zinc, manganese, copper, chloride, boron, and molybdenum. Now, when we talk about the nutrient types, we have macros, secondaries, and micros. That's not referring to the importance of any of these nutrients, because to be considered essential, it has to meet those criteria. So it has to be essential. The plants have to have it. This is more about the concentrations that the plant needs, or the totals that the plant needs. So in our N, P, and K, this is called the macro, or the primaries, because it's needed in the highest quantities. Now this is the 16. The other 3 nutrients that you can hear are going to be sodium, silica, and nickel. Depending on where you're at and what crop species, the silica is needed in some salt species. There's many weeds that are going to need the sodium, but it's not all plants. So while I teach the class and tell them about these 3, they aren't considered in the primary 16 plant essential nutrients. If you want to know about plant essential nutrients, check out the SunUp website at www.sunup.okstate.edu.